Hi, I am Sarina Maneotis, and I am honored to be featured as the TLC's highlighted teacher. I wanted to share some pictures while I walk through some teaching points. So I put them in some slides and figured that would be the easiest way to share that information. So this is a picture of me over the summer teaching some of our master's students, and I'll talk a little bit more about that program and who these students are here in a minute. So as I said, I'm Sarina Maneotis. I'm a teaching assistant professor in the Department of Psychological Sciences. As part of my role, I'm also the director of our master's program in industrial and organizational psychology. Industrial organizational psychology or workplace psychology is focused on learning and understanding people in the workplace. So we explore topics like employee motivation, leadership, how to select employees in a way that helps get people who are well qualified into jobs and things like that. So any sort of employee dynamics in the workplace, we are interested in studying. As a teaching assistant professor, I teach a lot of classes within the Department of Psychological Sciences here at K-State. A few are at the undergraduate level, many are for our master's program, and I also teach some courses for our doctoral students as well. So I'm going to get into some principles that I think really sort of motivate and drive my approach to how I teach at K-State. So there are four principles in total, and the first three sort of support the fourth one. So drawing on psychology research, the first principle is psychological safety. And this concept is more or less the idea of trust, but at a group level. And so having psychological safety allows people within the group to take risks and to be vulnerable. Without psychological safety, there would be minimal risk taking and people would feel uncomfortable being in a vulnerable position. And I think that in order to learn, we really have to open ourselves up to being, to risk taking in terms of being potentially incorrect and being vulnerable in those ways. So I try to facilitate that throughout all of the classes that I teach. Another principle that I find is really critical is making the material, whether that's in an undergraduate class or a graduate class, applicable to my group of students and relevant to them. This is especially helpful in our master's program where we're working with adult learners and we want them to be able to take the information that we're teaching them back to their jobs sometimes as soon as the next day or the next week. So in this picture, we're practicing doing some focus groups using real focus group data that I collected in a prior position while I was working with an organization. So we're practicing with that data, really relevant to a lot of the jobs that our students have. The third principle that influences my approach to teaching is feedback. So first, I like to make sure that I'm giving lots of feedback to my students so that they know how well they're doing in the class and they can understand very quickly if they need to adjust their approach or not. I find this to be particularly important for my online classes where there are fewer opportunities for interaction. I think leaving comments on the work that my students submit is a really good way to sort of foster those interactions and let them know that I am taking the time to read what they have submitted and that I see them as a person. But of course, feedback is important in in-person classes as well. The other way that feedback is important is feedback from my students back to me, whether that's T-vals, mid-semester surveys, informal check-ins, and things like that. I use that information to adjust my approach so that hopefully each subsequent time I teach a class, it gets a little bit better than the time before. And I think all of those three principles really support the last principle, which is connection. I'm really passionate about teaching because I like to help other people and I like to make connections with students. And so I think having a psychologically safe learning environment, making material that's relevant and applicable and providing opportunities for two-way feedback really help develop connections and foster those social interactions. A couple of pictures here from our master's program. So when our students are here over the summer, not only do we try to foster these connections in the classroom, but we leave some space for informal connections outside of the classroom as well. So we will go hike the Kanza, and then we will walk from our classroom over to Call Hall and have some ice cream together. So I really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit more about my approach at teaching here at K-State. And I'll end with, I'm Sarina Maneotis, and I teach at K-State.